This is my designer silk scarf box. I've got it filed, as it were. That's HERMÈS to wash. A lot of them aren't what you call dirty, but they need a little bit of a freshen up. That one, which is completely stunning, I think you'll agree. It just had a tiny, tiny little mark somewhere. Sometimes they just smell of other people's wardrobes. So a little rinse, a little bit of makeup in the middle there. Can you see that? That one's a really old one, and it's just a bit grimy in the middle. I'm going to have to really go for it on that one. I didn't pay a huge amount for it, so I'm prepared to take a bit of a robust approach. This is just beautiful. It's just got a tiny little dot. Looks like an oily dot there. I'll be able to get that out and it'll be pristine when I've finished it. Again, old, needs freshening up. I completely love it. Somebody has semi-ironed the rolled edges. Nearly had a heart attack when I saw it because it's otherwise as good as new. So I'm hoping by rinsing it, it will plump up the edges. It's makeup mainly, but I know how to get makeup off. Look at the colours. I've got 7 HERMÈS scarves, all of which need a freshen up, or this top one needs more than a freshen up. We're in the business of selling second-hand scarves and cashmere. We always get feedback with people throw their hands up in horror that we are washing a silk scarf. There is no point, we have found, in using a dry cleaner. They just don't get oily marks out of them or makeup out of them. And nobody wants an item of clothing that's second-hand that shows evidence of the person who owned it before. It's just a no-go. So we have to do it. We don't have many fails. We occasionally do have a fail, but if I can't sell it, it's a fail anyway. So that's why I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to have to be quite thorough with this top one because there are a lot of stubborn stains on it. Makeup all the way around there. Streaks of makeup and grime there. That looks like a food stain. Generally grimy all around the white central area, and then there's a sort of oily mark there. I gather up all the area that's the worst. I've got a liquid detergent in here. So this is a watered down liquid detergent. What do we call it in the States? Dish soap, very liquid. Any would be fine. It's because it's great on grease. Right, I'm going to really go for it because it is in the most hideous state. You know, even if it's got a few residual marks, if it's immaculately clean, it is still saleable. HERMÈS hold their value brilliantly. I think the oily mark was up here somewhere, so I'll just give that. I may need to do this more than once. Quite often I do with the really dirty ones. I'm not being as vigorous as I look. I'm being quite generous, but I really do need the detergent to get into the silk. There we are. That's the mark in the middle. I'm optimistic about this one. I'm always optimistic there, aren't I? I was born optimistic. There's an awful lot you can wash that you might think you can't in terms of clothing. But if it's a lost cause because something's dirty, then what have you actually got to lose? Some there. This feels new, actually, apart from the marks. It has clearly been worn, so I'm going to be really gentle with it. A little dot of grease. Again, it's another one that feels it's had very little wear at all. The water is tepid, and then the last one, I think it is literally that they've flattened the edges slightly. I'm hoping the water and a swish around will just bounce them back up. Yes, I think it is going to. A beautiful hand-rolled edge. They've been literally sewn by hand. For collectors and buyers like me, it really affects the value of a scarf. Right, cold rinse now. I'm just doing rinsing in cold water. Don't use fabric softener. That's another thing that collectors and serious buyers of HERMÈS, if it's been softened with fabric softener, you want to feel the crispness of the silk. Just that again is not, I'm not wringing it out like a dishcloth, I'm just squeezing. The best way to dry them, put them on a big towel, so you can roll them up and it gets the main load of water out. I'm going to do a few layers actually. I've got 4 here, all laid up. I'm just going to roll them up, get most of the water out, and then they're just ready to hang dry. I'm going to give that another go. I can still see 2 little pink. I don't know whether to leave it be and declare it in the listing or to try again to get it out. This one had the little, like an oily mark near one of the horses, so I'm confident about this one. Turn your scarf over. This is damp but not wet. and my iron is hotter than you might imagine. I've got it on cotton, but I'm moving quite quickly, and you all know your own irons, so please don't use an iron really hot and then come back to us and say I did what you said and it failed. It's ironing on the wrong side and never ever going near the rolled edge. Found another mark. Anyway, the first mark faded, but I'm going to have another go. How have I missed that? Let's have a look at this one. It's looking pretty good. If somebody showed it to me and said guess the brand, I wouldn't say Hermès. It's more Gucci-like to me. Gucci historically have liked flowers and birds quite a lot. I do all the corners and the edges first on the reverse side, then I fill in the middle bit and I turn it over to neaten up the edges if I need to. You can see one mark is still in evidence. It looks to have faded quite a bit. That one, sadly. I wonder if it's an historic colour run. All the little marks round and about have gone. We will of course mention that in the listing. I am really pleased about this one because the problem with this was the hand rolled edges. Somebody had ironed it and they've plumped up beautifully. If they're old and they've been repeatedly ironed flat, it's no hope. When it came in, although it wasn't really badly damaged or terribly badly marked, it just felt a bit sad, but it's come up absolutely beautiful. It's an old scarf, 1970s. There were marks around here which have gone and the colours have brightened up hugely, so I think it might have just been really dusty. This was the really filthy one. I'm not going to iron it because I'm going to put it through again. It's massively improved. There are still little patches that I can get off, so I'm going to redo that. I'm feeling quite confident. This one's great. We found that mark and realised it was from hanging on our dryer, so I think it had left a little mark, maybe a little bit of dust, so that's all sorted. It's pristine now. That one came up beautifully, no sign of anything. That I'm particularly thrilled with. That has come up beautifully, tiny, but barely can see them. Little residual, otherwise completely pristine, the colours are bright. That one of the marks has remained in, and I think it's colour run. It looks like somebody's got it damp in the past, but it is very faint, so I'm still feeling good about it. It's lovely and fresh, and that bounced up beautifully. It was a good morning's work.